So I was on the under of 44. I still like it at 43.5. I recommend getting it right now, though, because I see this line continuing to drop. When you look at the Eagles, they are one of the best over teams in the NFL, 10-7 to the over this season. But they're facing one of the best under teams in the NFL in the Buccaneers, who are 11-6 to the under. Last time these two teams met, the game stayed well under 44 points, which was in week 3. And when I look at this game, Philadelphia, they have gone over a lot this season because of their lousy defense combined with an electric offense, but we just don't see the electric offense right now. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith aren't healthy. Jalen Hurts nearly broke his finger against the Giants. This offense just looks lethargic. I think the bottom line is this Eagles team knows on offense, at least, they need to score a ton of points to win football games because how bad their defense is, and it's really shown in their offensive play. It's gone downhill. When you look at the Buccaneers here, they are one of the best defenses in the red zone. They make opponents work for their points, and they did pick off Jalen Hurts twice in the year's first matchup between these two teams. Tampa Bay's offense has really improved, but Baker Mayfield, as you said, battling a rib injury, battling a shoulder injury, just not a offense that I want to touch to score a lot of points this week. So I do think we're going to see a limited amount of points in this football game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. There might be a lot of movement between the 20-yard lines, but I think both defense tighten up in the red zone, and this game stays well under 44 or 43.5 points, the current line. Yeah, so the bottom line here, I do like the Rams +3. With that being said, though, it's a little concerning because this is a Super Bowl game for the Detroit Lions. They haven't hosted a playoff game since 1993. So when I look at this one, the Lions are probably going to come out on fire, and the Rams are going to have a tough time. You also have Matthew Stafford returning home to Ford Field. So there's just a few variations in this football game to take a look at. But overall, I think the Rams +3 is the move here because of how well they finished the season, right? They won 7 of their final 8 games. So they have a ton of momentum. And I think the Lions are going to score points. It's going to take an offensive effort for the Rams to score, but they have guys like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp that can win vertically down the field. They're going to have to in this football game. And when I look at this Lions team, they rank 21st in defensive passer rating, 27th in defensive real passing yards per attempt. They're allowing those explosive plays. So that opens the door for the Rams to come in here and find a way to win this football game. And getting a field goal with them, with how well they've played, it's really hard to resist here. As far as a prop, I do think Kyren Williams is going to stay under 82.5 rushing yards in this game, just because this Lions defense, very good against the run, a little shakier against the pass. And Kyren Williams has been unstoppable this season. He's been fantastic. But overall, in this game, going against this Lions front, knowing how well the Lions can score, it's going to put the pressure on the Rams here. So I think he stays well under this line. A comparable defense, comparable front to this Lions defense was the 49ers. He was right around 52 yards against them early in the season. So I think we see another performance like that out of him. But the Rams find a way to win this game because of their electric downfield passing offense. Yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot of movement between the 20s, between the red zones, but these defense should tighten up down there. When I look at Baker Mayfield, over 234.5 passing yards, it's hard to go under. I know he's hurt. I know he's battling a rib injury, a shoulder injury, but I do think the extra day really helps him here to recover. And Mayfield, when you think of Mayfield, you don't necessarily think of a tremendous pocket passer, right? But he's a guy that can throw the football. I mean, he's 9th in the NFL in passing yards this season, 4,044 passing yards, 7th in most passing touchdowns. And this Eagles front 7 could be a little better. They've definitely fallen off, but they can still get after the passer. They still have that capability. However, the secondary for Philadelphia is just horrendous. James Bradbury, Darius Slay, they really don't show up. Again, if I hear big play Slay one more time, I'm going to lose it. He's just not. He's not there for them right now. He's not playing with that full desire and that full will. And then when it comes to James Bradbury, he will not be with the Eagles next year. No doubt about it. In the safety position, they're really not that fast. They're not explosive. So this is a secondary that can be beat. Now, the Buccaneers do love to run the football with Rashad White. They stick with him consistently, but I think Baker's going to have a big game in this one. He probably has to if the Eagles come out and play their best offensive game. There's a chance they're playing from behind. As you were saying earlier, you don't want to lay 3 points with the Eagles, but you don't want to take 3 points with the Bucs. It's kind of a stay away there, but I think the Bucs have the opportunity to throw the ball vertically down the field with how well the offense has played. Maybe not the past couple weeks, but definitely the stretch that got them into the playoffs. It's definitely going to happen. I think the Browns defense should be able to force some turnovers to get it back, but you got to expect Joe Flacco to throw interceptions. It's like the Bills. You know Josh Allen is going to throw interceptions, but the plays that he makes for you are going to be massive and game-changing. These two teams played a few weeks ago. Cleveland beat Houston 36-22 on Christmas Eve. C.J. Stroud didn't play in that game, but there's still a few things we can take from it. The Browns had their way with the Texans through the air. Joe Flacco, 27-42, 368 yards, 3 touchdowns in the win. Amari Cooper had the game of his life, 11 catches, 265 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Houston has yet to win games with defense, and I don't see them starting in the postseason. It's going to take an offensive effort from them. And that's not a good formula against a Cleveland Browns team that plays exceptional defense. But the Houston Texans, they don't play great defense. 19th in defensive pass rating, 26th in defensive real passing yards per attempt, according to coldhardfootballfacts.com. I think the Browns are going to have their way offensively. They're a great defense. They might struggle a little bit against C.J. Stroud, but they're still going to make those plays in crunch time when they have to. So looking at this game, nothing's going to come easy for the Texans. They're at home, yes, but they have to be perfect to win. And I just think this defense is going to make a few stops down the stretch, which will make the difference for the Cleveland Browns. And for -2, -2.5 it was. The line is continuing to drop back towards Houston, which is kind of concerning here. But at the same time, too, I think Cleveland's just the better team. And what we saw a few weeks ago might be a carbon copy of this game, even with C.J. Stroud in, because if Joe Flacco has his way and throws the ball like he did last time, it's going to be hard for Houston to win no matter what. The Browns are going to lean on the run game a little bit in this one, and that starts with Jerome Ford to go over 43.5 rushing yards. If you watch the last game between the Browns and the Texans, you might think I'm crazy by taking this prop because Jerome Ford was nowhere to be found. I mean, he only averaged a little over a yard per carry 15 times for 25 yards, but he still got 15 carries in that game, and that's noteworthy to me as a bettor. That makes me think that the Cleveland Browns are going to come in and try to adopt that same strategy in this game. Pound the rock, don't put everything on Joe Flacco, and keep the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands. That's the biggest thing. C.J. Stroud's an electric quarterback. He can make plays vertically down the field. We know that, and the best way to defend him, even with a great defense that the Cleveland Browns have, is by keeping him on the sidelines, and that starts by running the football. I don't think Cleveland's going to play hesitant. I think they're going to be very aggressive, but that doesn't mean they can't run the football and be physical early and set up Joe Flacco for that play action attempt down the field. Joe Flacco's been operating best this season when the Browns run the football because he's able to work in play action, and he's deadly. He's precise with some of those downfield passes off the play action attempt. Ford didn't play much last week with their playoff spot locked. Pierre Strong Jr. received most of the carries. He is questionable for this game with a back issue, and he did get a few limited carries per game, right? So that gives them back to Ford and potentially Kareem Hunt as well. Kareem Hunt around the goal line. And then even though Houston has a strong run defense, they've been very good on the ground defending the run. We should see a commitment to that run game for Cleveland. I think that's the biggest thing. If they come out and try to run the football and be physical in this game and take it to Houston, Jerome Ford's going over 43.5. And I also see Cleveland playing with a lead at the end of this game. And that's the other reason to take him to go over, because they're going to need to drain the clock and find a way to finish the game with a lead. And again, that goes back to Jerome Ford, and that's going to result in rushing yards. So I was tempted to go over on Josh Allen's passing yards in this game. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go over on the rushing yards. The passing yards continue to drop. It was 219.5 midday today. It went down to like 215. So it's just not a spot that I want to bet Josh Allen because of that wind. And I'm reading on Twitter that this game could get moved to Cleveland. I don't know if that's true or not. That could be fake. But have you seen that?
I've seen a little bit of it. I can't verify how truthful some of these sources are because it's not necessarily the biggest of the big that are tweeting this out. It's also not Flappy Bob that's tweeting it out as well, fortunately. But that said, it's something to monitor, I would say.
Yeah, when I see a tweet that says this game might get moved to Cleveland, I'm staying away from the passing yards. So I do like Josh Allen to go over 38.5 rushing yards here. He turns the ball over all the time. That is Josh Allen to a T, but you can't deny that he's one of the best athletes in the NFL. He's going to make plays all over the field, and a lot of those plays are going to be remarkable. Buffalo, it's expected to be windy, and with this game, too, especially, they need to keep the ball away from the Steelers. They need to control clock and take it to the Steelers because the Pittsburgh Steelers want to do the exact same thing to the Buffalo Bills. They want to run the ball and keep Josh Allen off the field. I think Buffalo needs to come out and control the time possession in this game. Joe Brady, since taking over this offense, has worked wonders for the Buffalo Bills. Again, they're going to turn the ball over. That happens. We see it. But they still use Allen a lot in the rushing game. Joe Brady is not afraid to run the ball with him. And then Josh Allen's a great improviser as well. When he is under pressure, he's going to scramble. Last week, carried the ball 15 times for 67 yards. That was a perfect matchup to see him running the football just because of the pass rush for the Miami Dolphins. They got after him, and he was able to take off. This Pittsburgh Steelers team does not have TJ Watt, and they are 1-10 when TJ Watt doesn't play, but they can still get after the passer. They can still rush the quarterback here. And that means Josh Allen's going to have some extra time to improvise and take off as well. So over 38.5 rushing yards is the play, especially if the passing yards aren't going to be there. He needs to contribute to the game in some way. He's too talented not to give the football to. And James Cook's got some fumbling problems as well, which kind of scares me too. So I'm going to go with Josh Allen over 38.5 rushing yards. I think he has a huge day running the ball just to contribute, especially if the passing numbers aren't there. This is poor form versus poor form, right? It's like, which team do you think is going to get over the hump? And I got to lean towards the Kansas City Chiefs here. The Miami Dolphins have lost their past 10 games when the weather is under 40 degrees at kickoff. This has the potential to be one of the coldest games in NFL history. So not a position where I want to bet on the Miami Dolphins. They are beat up. They are sore. They look tired. They look lethargic. Tyreek Hill, their one vertical threat down the field, is still not feeling great, right? Jalen Waddle is probably back for this game, but still at the same time, too, it's just not a spot where the Dolphins are going to thrive in the cold. They haven't been able to play in the cold for years. Why do we think they're going to start playing in the cold now? Tua is also a playoff rookie going against a Chiefs team that has Patrick Mahomes with experience. It's just so much is going in favor of the Chiefs here. So just such a tough spot for the Dolphins, not one that I want to play them in. When I look at Tua, too, the decision-making's been terrible. Last week against the Buffalo Bills, he was not good. And when Tyreek wasn't on the field last week, that last game, when you're throwing to Chase Claypool to go out and try to put yourself in a position to at least win the game or tie and go to overtime, they really didn't look good in the offense. As soon as Tyreek got hurt at the end of the game there, they had no confidence in the one play. He wasn't on the field, and it showed. Tua tried to force the ball. When he didn't have his safety valve in Tyreek Hill, he did not look comfortable in the pocket. This Chiefs team, while the offense hasn't been good, Andy Reid, though, they still have Patrick Mahomes. I think this is a big Isaiah Pacheco game. I think they find a way to win it. It's not going to be pretty on offense, but the Chiefs have a good defense this year, and that's the thing that they can hang their hat on, at least, where Miami, they don't have their two best edge rushers right now. Offensively, they've really struggled. They're hanging on by a thread, and they lost on Sunday night. You lose the AFC East, a division that you were, heavy favorites to win midway through the season. And now you draw a Saturday night game on the road in Kansas City in the freezing cold. Just mentally, I don't think they can get over the hump here. So going to lay the points with the Chiefs. This line is going up. It was 3.5. Now it's 4.5, right? So get it before it goes up to 5 and potentially 5.5.